Hey folks, how's it going? It's Game Webcam. So, I'm pretty sure most of you are asking, Game, why are you talking about egg hunts in the middle of June? Was it Easter all the way back in April? First off, I wanted to work on my 1K special before working on this video. It's a video that talks a lot about channel updates and where I plan on taking my content. And I don't think this is a video you want to miss out on. You can check that video in the top right corner. The second reason was because I wanted to try and talk about the egg hunt in one video instead of making one video for each event. But one of the platforms, Brick Hill, unfortunately had to go through a couple of delays before they could launch their egg hunt, which I'll talk more about later. To try and make up for it, I decided to upload gameplay of both the Polytoria and Brick Hill egg hunts on my second channel, which you can visit by clicking the top right. In this video, I will be going over my experiences of egg hunts on a couple of different platforms, mainly Polytoria and Brick Hill. Ever since Roblox ended their egg hunt tradition on their platform, a lot of the alternatives have been trying to continue that tradition, and the way these platforms accomplish that vary in quality. Now, I'm going to be going over the egg hunts in chronological order, so I'll be talking about Polytoria's egg hunt first. Now, this was the only egg hunt I saw that was pretty punctual in terms of the timing, as it actually came around the time of Easter. Now, I didn't play this event the day it released, and I'm kind of glad I did it because not only were the servers put under a heavy workload from the amount of people playing it, but there were a couple of glitches in the game that sort of made the game unplayable. I started playing the day after when most of the major glitches have been patched, and the main reason why I played this is because Starman, also known as Baggy, wouldn't stop begging me to play the event, just like my dogs keep begging me to go outside right now. After joining the egg hunt with no expectations and mindlessly wandering around, I quickly picked up some characteristics of the egg hunt. Polytoria's egg hunt reminds me a lot of Roblox's early egg hunts, minus the fact that eggs would randomly spawn in any game you were in. While some eggs are pretty basic and straightforward, most eggs have unique characteristics, and this can include their spawning conditions, their behavior, and how they can be obtained. Some are pretty easy and straightforward to get. Some of them require completing puzzles to get. Oh, don't mind me, I'm just wandering around a grass maze and totally not glitching the camera, and oh my god, why is there a giant battery outside the map? And others are pretty tedious and annoying to get. And for things like the void egg, you have to be pretty lucky in order to come across this egg. Oh my god, I got it! I got the void egg! What the f— I'm not a fan of the idea of including an egg with a rare spawn rate, as I think it's a way to deliberately increase playtime in a low effort way and not have it be fun and entertaining. The egg hunt also offers a pretty nice shop that allows you to upgrade your speed, jump, and stamina, but unfortunately the display glitched half of the time while I was playing, and your stats don't save when you leave and rejoin the game, so thanks, Willem Stellar! I was able to get half of the eggs in this event pretty quickly, and the main reason why it took so long to get the last few eggs was either because of the spawn rate or the fact that some of the eggs in this event were still pretty glitchy. For me, Void Egg wasn't the most annoying egg to get. The two eggs I'm referring to are the Social Egg and the Lunar Egg. Now, how the Social Egg was supposed to work is that 3 participants would touch the egg simultaneously and each person would receive the egg. However, this egg was so broken that it could take more than 3 people to trigger the egg, and when it did happen, it would only give the egg to 1 person. This led to me having to try multiple times until the game graciously decided to give me the egg multiple times. The lunar egg only spawns during the nighttime. However, by fixing many of the game-breaking glitches on launch, somehow they managed to completely make the eggs stop spawning. So I ended up having to wait a couple of days until they released a patch that would make the eggs spawn properly. And that's pretty much the Polytoria egg hunt for you. It was kind of buggy and on the shorter side. Now, considering that Brick Hill was in pretty hot water at the time, which I'll talk about later, this really helped Polytoria make their egg hunt a lot more successful. There are definitely things that can be improved on though, such as making the game less buggy, utilizing the Polytoria engine a bit more, but most importantly, making the egg hunt feel more like it's part of the Polytoria brand. I noticed that this is a problem with Polytoria in general, and it's a reason why there are many from the sandbox community who don't want to try out Polytoria or take it seriously. Although I am in the beta program and can see the development of Polytoria and how it progresses, most people aren't willing to invest their time into it if Willem Stellar isn't going to invest his time into developing and maintaining the brand. By putting on a good event, it gives people a good impression of your platform, and it will make people more willing to play on the platform regularly. Now, the next platform that I saw hosting an egg event was Buildaverse. Now, considering that I chose not to participate in this egg hunt, I'm going to keep this nice and short. I could say this is one of the worst sandbox events of all time. This egg hunt took place over a Discord server, and eggs were distributed over 5 different text channels, and a bot randomly just picks an egg and drops it in one of the text channels. Unfortunately, for any common egg, you could just simply type claim into the chat and instantly get it. I mean, I don't even care about the puzzle ones, just simply the fact that people would just constantly wait in a text channel and paste in the word claim to get the egg convinced me not to do this event. I don't think I have seen an event so underwhelming. It didn't take place in a client or even on a website. I mean, at least with other egg events, you get prizes for collecting the eggs. On Buildaverse, all you really got was just a ranking and some prize that is nothing but a JPEG. Honestly, I think they would have been better off not doing this event in the first place. They should have put that time towards developing their site and their client, because I don't think there is a single positive thing that I can say about this event, because this entire event was a mistake. Alright, one demotivation hell later, let's talk about Brick Hill's egg hunt. Just like the other events, it was originally going to be released around the time of Easter. Unfortunately, before the day of Easter, former staff member Charisma published a Google Doc claiming that Space Builder was a file, which was later disproven. I've made 2 videos that go more in depth on the situation, and I'll put the first one in the top right. Since the majority of the community was turning against Space, they couldn't launch the event at the intended time. Max, the person who was organizing and promoting the event, ran into their own personal dilemma if they even wanted to work at Brick Hill anymore, which only just delayed the event further. I find it rich that people complain about how delayed the event was, but Brick Hill had a pretty good excuse for delaying their event, and I'm certain that if anybody were in the same situation, they would have done the same. Now, before we get into it, I want to briefly mention the marketing for this event. I think they did a really good job with the marketing material, because they managed to make the event a lot more presentable and make it feel like that this is a Brick Hill event, giving that personality that Polytoria's egg hunt was missing. I mean, there's even a whole dedicated song for the Easter event, which is not bad. Certainly better than whatever the hell this is. If you were to show this to someone, it could definitely pass as a viable event, and I think that's one of Brick Hill's strong points. I feel like it is this marketing and being able to put on good events that really puts Brick Hill ahead of other alternative platforms. Now, this is an event that is split up into 2 parts. Part 1 has already concluded, and it seems like it won't be a while until they start off part 2. So I'll probably be going over part 2 in a separate video. Now, unlike the Polytoria egg hunt, Brick Hill's egg hunt reminds me of some of Roblox's later egg hunts before they decided to do the dreaded dev hunt. While a lot of the eggs you come across have unique properties like Polytoria's egg hunt, Brick Hill's event adds in puzzles, quests, multiplayer, and even parkour, which helps make the gameplay a lot less monotone. Given that the Brick Hill client is complete and utter crap, I have to give credit on how hard the developers worked on this event to make the experience not only playable, but fun. Some of the eggs are only obtainable by meeting event contributors and admins, which if you were quite active, these eggs weren't too difficult to get. There are a couple that you can only get on the website, but these were essentially free eggs. Eggs are split up into 4 different worlds, with each of them having their own unique set of eggs to collect and a distinct theme behind each world. First, let's go over the world Dead Shell Desert. This world was the easiest and shortest, and as a result, probably the least entertaining world out of the 4. However, this world still had its moments. The cactus and tumbleweed egg were free, with the latter attempting to run away from you, but you can easily corner the egg. There's also a quest from an archaeologist who requests you fetch a pickaxe for her, which was also really easy. She rewards you with a dinosaur fossil egg, which looks pretty good. There's another egg you can get by looking at a help wanted poster in a camping area and heading over to the graveyard, which reveals a bandit egg that turns around and shoots at you if you get close enough. Avoiding the bullets and capturing the egg awards you that egg, which, in my opinion, is one of the best looking eggs of the event. The last 2 eggs can be found in the mine. The game works by clicking on blocks and mining to the bottom within a time limit. Clicking on a red block makes you lose the game and gives you an egg as a reward. Just as a reminder that everyone has to lose before they are able to win. Wait, you managed to win the game first try? Well, screw you, you're failing anyways. On my 3rd attempt, I ran out of time, but instead of teleporting back to the start, I just fell through and won the game regardless. I can't tell if this was a glitch or the game really was just saying, screw you, just take the prize and go. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up Dead Shell Desert. Then I went over to the world Scrambled Isles. I liked the pirate theme, it worked pretty well as a separate theme. The map was pretty well designed, though I wish I was able to enter the buildings because I would imagine they'd look pretty nice with some interior design and furniture. I ended up being a complete idiot and soft-locking myself, so yay! The town section of this map reminds me a lot of the Roblox game, A Pirate's Life. Whether it was intentional or not, this is a section of the map that sends me back to the past. The first quest I did was helping a pirate captain load each of the 8 cannons in the ship with cannonballs. While holding a cannonball, your walk speed drastically reduces, making the quest a lot harder as you only have a limited time to do this quest. I failed the first time, but halfway through the first attempt, I stumbled across a glitch where if you run out of stamina while you're carrying a cannonball, your speed resets to the normal speed and now you can sprint as if nothing happened. I ended up abusing this glitch in the second attempt in order to barely finish the quest on time. I also found it quite annoying that whenever I wanted to get the next cannonball, I had to wait 5 seconds through some dialogue to get the next cannonball, and this kinda drove me nuts. Still, overall, I found this to be a pretty good quest. The next quest I did was helping a gargantuan yet peaceful Venus flytrap find 7 worms throughout the map. Originally, I didn't mind the quest too much, but then this quest became incredibly annoying. First off, it didn't help that I didn't know what a worm looked like until I came across one. However, what annoyed me more is how the developers placed the worms throughout the map. I wound up finding half of the worms in one area of the map, one in a rocky place, and most of the remaining worms in some of the most obscure and bizarre places in the forest. I felt like there were many good places that they could have put the worms, and they didn't do any of that for whatever reason. Combined with the fact that my client crashed during this quest and forcing me to start all over again. Oh my fucking god, the game crashed. Are you fucking shitting me? It took me a while to finish this quest, and I ended up doing other eggs so that way I didn't waste too much time. While I was doing that quest, I came across an egg-shaped pineapple, which was essentially a free egg, and there's also an egg at the top of the volcano, which involves doing some pretty easy parkour, and unlike Sir Steven, I managed to get this egg first try. The last two eggs involve going through a house which was filled with parkour and getting a key, and also helping a guy get their lost parrot. Taking the key back to the ship and going through a set of doors leads you to a chest and gets you the Kregan, which looks pretty nice as an egg. I was able to easily find the parrot on top of the city hill and was able to quickly return it, and that pretty much concludes Scrambled Isles. The next world that I came across was Yorkshire Hills. In my opinion, I found this world to be the hardest one out of the four, and not in a good way. A good reason for this is because half of the eggs in this world require at least 2 players to obtain. The easiest one being the Plague, which you can receive by touching a randomly assigned player. However, the 2 other eggs involve having to compete against another player and winning a couple of games. The first one was a sword fighting game where you joust against another player to the death. You get an egg if you win the match. When I was initially playing this event, this game would often be broken because if you quickly alternate between the red and blue pads, the game is tricked into thinking there are 2 players when there's only 1. When the game starts, it would immediately end the game and permanently break the blue pad so nobody can participate in the game anymore. So, more often than not, I ended up trying to participate in the other game, which was a game of rock, paper, scissors. Not the most creative game that they chose, but I didn't mind too much. Whoever is first to 3 wins in a match wins. However, what really annoyed me about this game was the fact that you had to win 3 different matches. I did end up winning a couple of matches, but because I would leave the server and rejoin, my progress would reset because Brick Hill doesn't save your progress. Both the jousting egg and the rock, paper, scissors egg were the last 2 eggs that I got in the whole event, because by the time I was trying to get the eggs, most of the people had already completed the event and nobody was playing anymore. I couldn't play with my friend Josie because they own a MacBook, and Brick Hill's client doesn't work on Mac OS without a paid version of Wine called Crossover. I pretty much had no other choice but to cheat the eggs. I grabbed an alt account and just simply rigged the matches and won both the jousting and rock, paper, scissors eggs. And here's the thing, if you're gonna call me out for cheating, Space Boulder told me he was okay with it, so all of you can suck it. Anyways, there was a carrot egg on the map which was pretty much free, and falling down a farmer's well and completing the parkour led me to another egg. The last egg involved completing a chain of quests to get. It starts off with talking with an NPC and fetching them nails from a blacksmith. I initially struggled with this quest because I was expecting to talk to an NPC to get the nails, so I ended up walking around the map looking like a complete idiot. What you had to do was find an anvil and walk up to it, and that alone just gives you the nails. Fantastic gameplay. After returning the nails, they reward you with wheat, which you'd take to the windmill and grind it up to make bread. You then take that bread to the marketplace inside the castle and sell it for some coins. And finally, you can use the coins to pay an artist to paint you the egg. Other than the anvil part, I didn't have too much of an issue with this egg. The egg was pretty much just going from point A to point B and so on and so forth. So once you know what to do, it was pretty straightforward and boring. Anyways, that concludes Yorkshire Hills. The final world of the event was the Arctic Research Complex. I found this world to be the most creative out of the 4, but this world was also quite challenging. This world had the biggest map out of the 4, and I can tell that this is the world where the developers put the most effort into, as it's quite ambitious. However, this world ended up having the most dislikes, and there's a reason why. Besides the free egg, which was an egg that was shaped like a penguin, every single egg in this world involves having to use parkour to reach or obtain. This is the only map that offers checkpoints that you can respawn from, and trust me when I say these checkpoints are needed because it otherwise makes completing the parkour a giant pain in the ass. When you do parkour in this map, most of the jumps that you need to accomplish require you to sprint, otherwise you don't have enough speed to make the jump. Started off with the egg of extreme temperatures, you had to adjust 3 levels to their proper amounts. The first one was a freebie, but the other 2 involved traveling to different rooms and completing the parkour in these rooms. You needed to memorize the positions of each indicator so you know whether to increase or decrease the amount. For the acid course, I had to sprint jump across pipes to make it to the control room. The last room's door is shut, and by looking around the room, you have to jump on some pipes to reach a door that proceeds to the next room. In this room, there is a giant pool of freezing water, and you have to quickly get through this course before you die of hypothermia. After completing all 3 indicators, a door opens up and you get the egg. Next up is the power egg, which requires you to complete 3 courses and get batteries from each one to open up the door and retrieve it. The first course was pretty easy, but the second one was incredibly annoying. Brick Hill's client is quite terrible for collisions at times, so sometimes you don't even have to touch a kill part and you will just die for whatever reason. Bro, Brick Hill's hitboxes are a fucking nightmare, man. Combine this with the fact that you need to time your jumps and movements well, and there were definitely moments where I raged. Like, let me toggle my sprint, please! After several attempts, I finally managed to get the battery and finish the second course. The third course combines obstacles of both the first and second course, and while this one was also annoying, there at least was a strategy behind it. The only annoying part was the game forced you to parkour your way out of the room, and what ended up happening was me raging some more. Bro, I jumped! I jumped! Why didn't you jump? After that, I managed to get out and was relieved to finally get this egg. The next 2 eggs involve having to climb a huge cave full of floating platforms. Some of these platforms fall momentarily after you land on them, which meant you had to plan out your sprinting cycles and pray that you complete a section before you ran out of stamina. This section of the map only offers 1 checkpoint, so if you messed up, you may end up having to start all over again. Upon completing the course, you come into a room with an evil scientist who invites you to participate in an experiment, which is essentially a set of puzzles. The puzzles consist of red and green pads. You have to reach the other side of the map by stepping on as many green pads as red pads. For the first half of the game, it shows you your count, but it gets rid of it halfway through, leading you to have to count by yourself. Completing all the puzzles gives you an egg. Going past the room with the evil scientist and jumping down here takes you to an elevator. This elevator leads you to an area with an antenna. Parkouring your way up the antenna leads you to the egg of scrambled signals. The last egg in this world is called the Robo Egg, and for the first few weeks of this event, this egg was unobtainable. That was because the section where the egg is found hadn't been implemented yet. If you try to enter this area, you would just fall through the map and die, and I think there's a good reason why this egg was delayed. When the egg became possible to obtain, you have to perform more parkour without running into rogue robots. The problem is that these robots would have the worst latency ever, and it is very difficult to judge whether you'll be fine or just run into them and die. I'm assuming that a lot of the course had to be scrapped last second, so that way the course would be bearable for players to complete. After getting past the first half of the course, the second half is fairly easy enough, and I was able to get the last egg, and that effectively concludes the Arctic Research Complex and all of the 4 worlds. Now, I know that was a lot to cover, and that's because Brick Hill's Egg Hunt has a lot of content that needed to be covered. And while Brick Hill's Egg Hunt had many upsides, it isn't perfect, not only because of the restrictions from Brick Hill's client, but there were also a couple of moments where the Egg Hunt felt a little dragged out. Also, there were a couple of more bugs than the ones I mentioned in the video. For example, I managed to get out of bounds in the Arctic Research Complex because the developers forgot to toggle collisions for this specific corridor. I overall, though, had a whole lot of fun doing this egg hunt and would be down to do another one, preferably if it is done in the new client. Now, in part 2 of this egg hunt, they're probably going to be introducing the ARG. Now, if you don't know what an ARG is, they're these really cryptic puzzles that lead you to the next puzzle until you eventually reach the conclusion of the ARG, which is usually a prize or something. Along with solving the ARG, you may also find out some details of the Brick Hill lore, because if you didn't know, there is hidden lore in Brick Hill. I'm more than likely not going to be participating in this because these puzzles are stupidly hard. In fact, these puzzles are so hard that most people opt to work in a group because of their sheer difficulty. In Space Builders Behind the Hill podcast series, he explains the reason why these ARGs are a tradition at a Brick Hill is because it traces back to him and Brick Luke going back and doing really hard puzzles, and making these ARGs are his way of passing that tradition onto the community. I might make a video one day explaining the Brick Hill lore, but today is definitely not that day. I mean, at the end of the day, if you are an avid Roblox player and are looking for something to try and replace your egg hunt cravings, these alternatives are not there yet. But I can definitely tell at least one of them is trying to make progress and at least one of them isn't. I know that someone tried organizing a community-run egg hunt on Roblox to try and make up for the lack of egg hunts, but the biggest problem with this is that you don't get the same unity that an official event can. The reason why people loved egg hunts on Roblox is not because of how old the tradition was, but because no matter how fragmented this community is, egg hunts and most events by Roblox gets everyone together to work towards doing those events. I get that Roblox wants to shift more of the focus towards developers and want developers to be the center of the overall brand, but egg hunts were one of the last remaining traditions of the platform. By killing them off and replacing them with metaverse champions, which I have yet to see a follow-up event from them, they have effectively changed to yet being another soulless corporation. And while the alternatives may get nowhere as big as Roblox, they will be the ones continuing the egg hunt tradition. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload my next video. This is Game Webcam, and take care.